Feeling overwhelmed by all the tarot decks out there? Not sure where to start? In this video, I'm sharing my top 10 easiest tarot decks for beginners. So if you're new to tarot, start here. These decks are trusted favorites for a reason. Hi, I'm Elowen, a certified tarot reader. If you're just beginning your tarot journey or shopping for someone who is, this list will help you find beginner-friendly decks that are beautiful, approachable, and supportive for learning. First, let's clear up a popular myth. You do not need to have your first tarot deck gifted to you. That idea comes from older traditions, but it's absolutely okay to choose your own deck. In fact, in my opinion, it's even better when you choose what calls to you. And I stand by that because that is what I did for my own first deck. But before we begin, just a few quick notes. I don't own every tarot deck out there. These are just my personal favorites for beginners. If you have a deck that really helped you when you were starting out, I'd love for you to share it with me and others that read the comments. All of these decks follow the Rider-Waite-Smith system, which is the most commonly taught and the easiest to learn from if you're using books or online guides because it is the most referenced. Every deck I chose for this list is currently in print. I did that so that if you like a deck, you will be able to pick it up, at least as of the time of filming this video. In the description below, you'll find links to all of the decks that I covered today, as well as to book a personal tarot reading with me. To make things easier to navigate, I've grouped the decks into 3 categories. First will be classic Rider-Waite-Smith style decks. These are great if you want to stick close to the traditional foundation. Second, I'll show you decks with helpful keywords, perfect if you're looking for extra guidance while you learn. And then finally, Rider-Waite-Smith style decks with a twist. These are perfect for those who want something unique or modern but still easy to read. Starting off with the most traditional decks of the bunch, we have Smith-Waite Tarot Deck and the Universal Waite Tarot Deck. Now, these two are the same. This one has borders, this is the borderless edition. They both come in tuck boxes. This is this one here, borderless, and this one here is the Centennial Edition Smith-Waite Tarot Deck. This, I don't have the box anymore, it came in a tuck box, but as a reminder, I'll be linking all of these decks in the description so that you can see exactly which deck this is. So here we can see that these two have more muted style colors, the line work looks a little bit thicker on the artwork, and here we can see that the colors are a little bit softer in places, the line work is a little bit finer. So we have some differences there, but really these are very traditional decks to me. And I'll show you some comparisons. So we are looking right now at the major arcana to really show you the differences so you can get an idea of what you might prefer if you were going to go with a traditional tarot deck, which I definitely recommend as a good option to start with. This is what you'll see in all the books. You'll see usually this imagery. So once again, color differences. And I personally have ended up using the Universal Waite more than these two. Although I love the borderless feel of this one because when you put cards right next to each other, they touch without the borders. But I really like the more white of this one and the colors in this one. You can see the difference in the blues there and the yellows. And once again. So this is a very classic style. I will show you the backs of the cards. And these all 3 have decent cardstock. Not like luxurious, but certainly not flimsy or bad, so I like this cardstock, it's good. And you can also tell that there's more purple in the Universal Waite here you can see Justice. Once again, more purples in there. The blues are brighter and an obvious difference in the artwork there. So let me show you the backs. Here's that back. These are going to be pretty similar, those two. You can see a change in color by a little bit. And also this has the markings of US Games on the border. This one does not. And the backs of these, which if you've watched my videos, you probably see me use this one for sizing a lot. There is the backs of the universal weight. So this is definitely a great choice. It is the most traditional, it's the most famous, it's a great place to start. Though I will point out you don't have a lot of skin color differences or other variations in this style of deck, which is why I'm showing you some other decks as well. So that's a look at the borderless Smith-Waite, the Smith-Waite Centennial Edition, and the Universal Weight. And the decks that I just showed you don't come with large, nice guidebooks, so I would recommend picking up some kind of other book to help you learn and read. I do have a video on my top 10 tarot books for beginners that I would recommend watching if you are going to pick up an additional book. Now, if I recall correctly, they did come with little white booklets, but those little white books are pretty small and don't have a lot of information in them. Now, there are other classic Rider-Waite-Smith decks out there where people have slightly changed the coloring, but the imagery is exactly the same. Certainly, if you like one of those more, go for it. These are just the ones that I chose out of the bunch, and I can't cover all of those because there's quite a few out there. And now for decks with keywords, starting off with the Simplicity Tarot. This is an excellent deck for beginners who want keywords. Now, this is also a lovely gift because it feels a little bit more luxurious with its hard box, and it has these gold touches here and on the sides. And here's the back. So certainly a nice first deck. Has these finger cutouts to help you open the box, right? So let's show you the inside, nice pop of color. And then we have a guidebook here. So more than those other decks that I showed you. Let me open this up. There's the inside of the box. And it comes with this guidebook, which I mentioned. So let me show you the guidebook. We have an introduction about the tarot deck, simple tips to prepare for a reading, and that talks a bit about preparing yourself, setting up, cleansing, and protecting your tarot reading space, creating your reading atmosphere, visual work, caring for your deck, storing your deck, connecting with your deck. And it talks about the steps and how to conduct a tarot reading. Then it gives you example tarot reading interpretations, which I think is great. Mentions interpreting the cards as a whole message. Talks about reading tarot reversals, as well as gives you quick and simple tarot reading tips. And then it gets into the card meanings. And here you can see that it gives you a main message for the card. Then it gives you upright keywords and reversal keywords. Then at the back, this deck comes with some additional cards. So at the back, it has the meaning for those additional cards. I believe it was two additional cards. And those cards were Spiritual Cleansing and Spiritual Guide. So if that's something that appeals to you, maybe this is a good deck for you. And then at the back, it has simple tarot spreads. Tells you about the author as well and has a notes section. So there's that. Let me show you this deck. So here are the backs of the cards. Beautiful backs, reversible, has these moons on there. Now here's another special touch. It has gold edging. That's what we call it anyway. Some call it gilding, but this is actually a nice soft gold edging, so it doesn't chip or flake like some gold gilding does. So that is very nice. And it has nice cardstock quality as well, so I think you can be happy with the cardstock. It all depends on your personal preferences though. So here are the cards. We can see it's very clean, very simplified, nice colors, so kind of opens up for your intuition the way it's so simple, and then it gives you keywords. So in this case, we have Knight of Coins, productivity and practical for your Knight of Coins, Magician, manifestation and power. So this is great when you are working on memorizing the keywords, or maybe you have them memorized or partially memorized and you just need a little help every once in a while. Knight of Cups, faithfulness and romance. Of course, you don't want to lean on that in time. You want to move on to having it all in your mind, and of course, using your intuition and the keywords that you come up with on your own. But it's great to have a traditional base to go off of before you start adding your own flair to what each card means. Ace of Coins, and there's some slight imagery changing, but it does give you the base symbolism, which is great. Some of it is just a bit more modernized than the other decks I showed you. For example, in the Chariot, this depiction, this is a little more modern in the woman that we see. Normally, this is a man with some armor on. So you can see there's slight tweaks here and there. And kind of more reflective of the world we live in my opinion, than the original decks. So I think this is a great deck to start with. Now, of course, it is more simple. You may like things that are a bit more elaborate, so I will have decks for you as well beyond that. So that is a look at the Simplicity Tarot. Next up, we have the Wandering Star Tarot. This comes in a 2-piece hard box with gold touches on the front. Here are the sides. Here's the back. Finger cutouts to make it easy to open. And on the inside, you can see a design here and a guidebook here. Here is the inside of the box. There is a universe inside you. Now, let's take a look at the little guidebook that comes with it. Here's the little guidebook. So we have the contents here: introduction, understanding the deck, major and minor arcana, using the deck, how to ask a card a day. So it has card spreads in here. Some of the classics, a 1 card, a 3 card, a Celtic cross spread. Then it talks about reversed meanings. And then it's going to get into the card meanings. And so it will have the card title, keywords, and card message. And then it looks like a quote at the bottom, which is quite nice. And so that is the book that comes with it. So small, but definitely contains some good information in there. Now, once again, this is decent cardstock. Here are the backs of the cards. So pretty cool looking. We don't have any special edging on there, but that's okay. Here is a look at these cards. So you can see these are very much not traditional. They have their own style, but this is for someone who really wants some flair or changes to the original artwork, but still have some of the tradition there. And then you can see that we have keywords in this, but they are really tucked away so it's not screaming that it's a keyword deck. So for example, here we have Nine of Pentacles, some of the classic imagery of the Nine of Pentacles. But then we have the keywords: comfort, accomplishment, prosperity, stability. And then this artist has their own style. So really fun if you want something a little bit different, but still has keywords. The Emperor, Law, Order. Journey, Success, Progress for the Chariot. Here we have King of Wands, once again, tucked away key words. And here again, in nice, beautiful, bright colors. Now, something I do want to point out about these cards, which would be my only hesitation, is that the characters in these cards are all facing forward. So if you look at a traditional card deck, you will see characters facing left, right, or forward. And you may not be working with that when you begin, but later in time, you will look at directions that people are facing to tell you more about what's happening in that card or what's happening in relation to the spread. So that would be the only thing I'd have to say about this deck. But it is quite beautiful, and you may not be working with directions anyway. Oh, this deck has 2 additional cards, so normally you won't have a creator card in there that means no. So there's 2 extra cards, so you'd probably just want to remove those unless you want to specifically work with those cards. But I think this is quite beautiful and very nice with those keywords. So that's a look at the Wandering Star Tarot. For our final deck selection with keywords, we have Lucid Dreams Tarot. Now this is an independently published deck. So far, I've shown you all mass market published decks, meaning more were printed at once, so more are available, so typically they cost less than independently published decks, which have less printed and sometimes are limited editions. This particular deck, for example, is a limited edition, so they may come out with another edition once they're done printing this one, but that's not certain. Now, to help offset those costs, I will put a coupon in the description that will give you $5 off of your first purchase from where you purchased this deck at Tarot Stack. Now, let me show you this deck. Here is the box. It is a hard box, and it has this beautiful gold on the front, as well as on the sides. This side looks like a hard book, which is cool when you sit it upright on your shelf. Here's the back with this beautiful gold writing. And this is what I call a magnetic flip open box, because on the side, it has a magnetic closure, and I love these kind of boxes. This is definitely luxe, and it opens up like that. And then we have some writing here if you want to pause and read it. Nice message. Then on the inside, we have a nice chunky guidebook. So let me show you here. See that? It's a big chunky guidebook with lots of great information. Now, on the inside are your cards. You have ribbons to help lift your deck out. The way this box is, it splits the deck in 2, so you have 2 piles for your cards. Now, within this nice guidebook, we have an introduction about your cards, using your cards, which breaks it down into making your deck sacred, blessing your cards, asking initial and follow-up questions, shuffling the deck, making and creating a spread, the wisdom of the tarot, which breaks it down into the major arcana, the minor arcana, the elements, the zodiac, planetary energies, and numerology. And that's great because those are things that you don't necessarily need to include when you're beginning, but are great when you want to dive deeper and as you're learning more and giving more depth to the cards and their meanings. So this deck can help carry you on until later in time, as well as the others can, but this does provide you with the information and the symbolism on the cards that will help you with that. So then it also talks about interpreting your cards, so card layouts and structure, quick tips, a note about reversals, and it has beginner 3-card spreads. And that section has a lot of great suggestions for 3-card spreads, which are a great way to start off. First starting off with a card of the day, a 1-card pull, then moving into 3-card spreads where you start to interpret them as a whole and tell a story, that's a great place to start. And then it will get into the card meanings, a final word, and then it has a note section at the back. Now, let me show you how the card meanings work out. So in this example, we have a major arcana card, the World. There's no zodiac for this one, so it doesn't have it. But if it did, if it was associated, it would list it there. It lists the element. It lists the planet associated with the card. Then it gives you a write-up, an overall write-up of the meaning of the card. Then it gives you more specifically the upright meaning of the card. And then it has upright keyword associations. And what's really nice for a guidebook that comes with the tarot deck is that it breaks it down into sections of keywords for love, if this were to come up in a love reading, keywords for career, keywords for finance. And then if you want to work with reversals, it does have reverse meaning on the back and reverse keyword meanings broken down once again into love, career, and finance. And then over here, we have a section for your own notes as you learn the cards. Maybe you come up with new associations or you take notes of what you're discovering when this comes up. For example, maybe you're pulling these things in one card daily card pulls and you're noticing a pattern. Well, you could put it in your notes for that. So great, nice guidebook that comes with it. And it does have a beautiful soft finish and this gold. It feels very luxurious, at least to me. So very nice. Now let's show you some of these cards. I'm not going to pull out the whole stack here because we're not going to show you every single. So on the side, we have a gold edging. It's kind of a bright, maybe antique gold on there. Here are the backs of the cards. There is a subtle, what we call linen-y finish. So you can see that texture there, which is very nice. It is a thick, but still bendable cardstock. So these should last. These should last a while, I would expect. I don't know what you're doing with your deck. Who knows? So here is a look at the artwork. Now, this artwork is based on traditional symbolism, but there are some small tweaks. But you do still have these keywords to support you. So we have, in this case, upright keywords at the top, and then we have symbols at the side. So we have the zodiac symbol, when applicable, the planetary symbol, and the elemental symbol. And if you were to pull this in reverse, if you want to work with reversals, we have reverse card meanings there. And that's really cool because even if you aren't a beginner anymore, but maybe you want to learn reversals, this is a great deck to pick up specifically for that. So let's show you some more. As you can see, it's this soft, beautiful color palette. And there is another edition that is more like darker colors. This is black instead of this pale color. So that might be more your speed if you don't like these softer colors. There are some dark colors in there though. And as you can see, there's this gold touches on it. Now, something nice about this being in gold is that you can kind of focus your eye on the main image in the card there, and these words don't distract too much from it, yet they are still there to support you. Very beautiful. What a nice first deck this would be for sure. Now, one thing that I will point out is when you have these keywords and these symbols, in this particular deck, it's making the central image smaller. So if you want edge-to-edge picture, that's called borderless, then you may not want this deck. But this might be large enough for you, it just depends. And this is an example of changed imagery. So this is not the traditional world imagery in this one, but you do still have the keywords up there. So very beautiful, and maybe that is one for you. That's a look at the Lucid Dreams Tarot. And now for a 45-second word from our sponsor, that's me. I'd love to help you gain insights, find clarity, and empower yourself to make choices aligned with your highest goals and aspirations. As a certified tarot reader, I offer personalized readings designed to provide powerful guidance, whether you're seeking answers to specific questions or a deeper understanding of your spiritual and life path. To book your tarot reading or purchase your birth chart, please visit my website at eloinlefay.com. If you prefer to connect via email, you can find my contact information in the description below. I'm excited to support you on your journey towards greater clarity and empowerment. And now we're getting into decks that are based on Rider-Waite symbolism, but have some sort of twist to them. So in this particular case, this is the This Might Hurt Tarot deck, and this is a bit more modern, and you'll see that the artwork is different, though based on tradition. So this box is an indie box. The version you'll be able to pick up now is a mass market version. So I'm not going to get into the details of this box because this won't be the version that you will have. I'm not sure what changes they've made as far as the box in the mass market version. So here's the guidebook, and the cover may be different, but the contents are most likely the same. And in the guidebook, you will have an introduction. History talks about doing a tarot reading and selecting your cards, the language of the tarot, so it'll talk about major arcana, minor arcana, the suits, numbered cards, court cards, and it talks a little bit about reverse card meanings, and then it'll get into the card descriptions. Now, the guidebook that comes with the version I have does not give keywords or reversed card meanings. It gives you just the main meaning of the cards. But this is still better than a little white book because this does give you more information than that would have. And you do have the nice picture here. So say you want to take this with you and not the whole deck. That's kind of nice if you want to look at the images and kind of study the meanings. You can definitely do that. It's a nice small size. Now, since this is the indie version, I think there are 2 or 3 cards that may be different in that version than this deck. So just keep that in mind. Most of the imagery will be the same, but there will be a little bit of a difference. So here you can see already that the artwork style and imagery is different. And this font, of course, is different as well. But it still has that base and traditional symbolism. So modernized, that's kind of why I have this in the with a twist section. It's more modernized. You can tell by the clothes they're wearing, by the people that are included, and just different choices, yet still very readable and traditional and quite beautiful. I love this artwork. I really love this artwork. It's so nice and very clear to read. This may be more your style than the traditional style decks. And if that's the case, then go for it, because really it's what is going to work best for you and your intuition. So that's why there's a lot of different decks out there. So you have more choices nowadays, which is just fabulous. Now, I like this card stock. This is the indie version. I don't know what the mass market is like, but I'm sure it will be pretty good. Now, I don't know if they changed this card in the mass market version or not, but I want to point this one out because this may be difficult for some people. They may not like this imagery where it has a wounded animal. Normally this is a heart. It's a heart with 3 swords through it. So I want to point that out. And I actually plucked out a little bit of the cards because there is some depicted, illustrated, artistic nudity in this deck. So I want to point that out as well in case you don't like that, or if you wanted to gift this to someone and you were concerned about that. Just want to show you. I can't put it on here because YouTube sometimes does not like that. So I don't want the video to get pulled. So I had to take those out. I do know somebody recently that had a problem with that, so I'm trying to be mindful of it. Now, here's an example. Two of Cups normally has a man and woman in it, and here we have two men, so I think that is great. It's more with the times that we're currently living in. Two of Wands, you can see the same meaning that it would traditionally have, but it's different. In the older version, you're not going to see any cars, that's for sure, in those original versions. But I love the colors and the artwork style. This may be a great first-time deck for you. So beautiful. All right, we'll show you one more. And, oh, I love that card. And I'm not sure if there will be gilding on the mass market version, but there is on the indie version. So maybe they did that with it as well. And if that's the case, it's probably quite beautiful. So that's a look at the This Might Hurt tarot deck. Next up, we have the Everyday Witch Tarot, and this is considered a tarot kit. You'll notice that this box is larger than the others I've shown you so far because it does come with a nice size book inside. Now, here we have a glossy box. It is a magnetic flip. And here's the back. Now, I have stuff inside of this. This is a great box to store things. So I'll just show you kind of the underside of the flip. You have some stars on the underside here. Now, here's a look at the book that comes with it. This is a great book. It's nice and big, as you can see here. So really more of a full kit where you could pick it up and be reading with just this. So it's glossy again. Here's the back. Now, obviously I've tagged this up, so just ignore that. That won't be on your version. We have full color pictures inside on a beautiful glossy paper. About the author, about the artist, contents, introduction, and let's see. So this talks a little bit about the elements and then about how to use this deck and how to do a reading. And it's going to talk quite a bit about how to do a reading, which is great because that's what you are going to do. And then it talks about the numerology briefly of cards, common questions and answers, and then some tarot extras. So it'll have 3 spells to use with tarot. So that is very unique and a nice touch. And then it gets into the meanings of the cards. So here, for example, we have the Fool. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith, and then it gives you the card meaning, which continues on the next page. And then this is unique and very cool. It says things to consider. So things to consider when this card comes up. And then under here, embrace the unknown. And it continues like that for the other cards as well. You also have a notes section. So maybe your observations about that card as you learn. And here in the minors, this is how it's done. So slightly shorter, but still nice large treatment. Now you don't have keywords on this, so keep that in mind. Now at the back, you have spreads. So 1 card spread, a 3 card spread, the Celtic Cross, so classics. Classics there. Just enough. And then a conclusion. Now, I keep these in a baggie because I actually like to throw these in my backpack when I read at events or for clients, with a little piece of selenite to keep them clear. So here are the backs of the cards. As you can see, they are not reversible. And I like this cardstock. It's not like super luxurious, but it shuffles great. As you can tell, I've used this. It's not totally clean white, but that's what happens when you use them. So here we go. We have this beautiful artwork I love this artist. And you'll see some of the witchy theming in there. But I think this is so beautiful. And I have to say, working with this deck, at least for me and my intuition, this really talks. Like, this is a great chatty deck. I definitely can read this deck very easily. And that's what I hope for you if you're drawn to this style, these colors, this theming. And yet you can still see it sticks to traditional symbolism. And some of it, you can really see the emotion, and that really can help as a reader to pick up the emotions in there. And it's just so fun. Some of the imagery is so fun to look at, and new and fresh, and not like the traditional style. Quite beautiful. Yeah. And you know, if you're into this style or witchy stuff, this may definitely be for you. Now, here we do have a change to the sun. Normally you'll see like a naked baby on a horse, but here we have a different story, yet you still get the idea. So the sun is about a lot of things, but it's about joyful moments, joyful occasions, things that make you happy. So you still definitely pick that up in this card, even though it is changed. So I love this deck, quite beautiful. So that's a look at the Everyday Witch Tarot. Next up, we have Crystal Visions Tarot. And I don't have the original box handy for you right now. It came in a tuck box, and what I mean by a tuck box, if I didn't mention it, is a box that opens like this with a tuck flap. So it came in a box like that, and I believe it had a little white book, so a small little pamphlet of meanings, not a larger guidebook. So I don't have that to show you because there really isn't that much there. You may want to pick up a separate book if you were to pick up this deck. So here we can see the backs of these cards, quite beautiful, and they are reversible, so that's great. These are on what I consider a standard cardstock and are a standard size. There is a little bit of a shine to them, but not much, so mostly matte, but they shuffle nicely. And for gilding or edging, it's just plain white, although I've used this deck quite a bit, so it's not totally white anymore. And it does have a slight bend to it from riffle shuffling, where you do a bit of a bridge. So that can happen, and I kind of do this sometimes, or I'll put a book to flatten them out. But this is a lovely and used deck, so there's that. That can happen over time. It's good for you to see. Let's see. Let me show you this artwork. This beautiful artwork. So you can probably tell right off the bat that this is a more fantasy type of deck. So as you can see, we have these beautiful soft colors, and I would say this has a very romantic feel. Here's a nice example of the fantasy. So for wands, we have unicorns, and it's their horns as the wands instead of staffs or actual wands. That romantic, beautiful feel to things. I love those colors, beautiful colors. Major Arcana here. Now for Major Arcana, we have a yellow color at the bottom. You'll notice color coding at the bottom of the cards, which is also nice for beginners. That will help indicate the suits or element. Now I do want to point out one thing, at least the version I have has a little bit of a stamp here. So mine says 2011 US Games. And unfortunately, they do that on the border of this deck. So for cups, you can see that color coding here. Blue for the swords. Once again, blue for the swords. A Major Arcana. Very, very beautiful artwork. And as the name promises, crystals in the cards. And the bit of I don't know if that's a fairy or not, but very fantastical. And we have green for the pentacles, being more of an earth element. And I do want to mention that this artwork, this deck, was inspired by Stevie Nicks' compilation CD, Crystal Visions. So if you're a Stevie Nicks fan, you may be interested in knowing that. I think that's a pretty cool fact. And also, you'll notice within here, like some crystal balls, another nod as well to Stevie Nicks. This beautiful Wheel of Fortune. And it sticks to traditional symbolism, but of course puts its own little swing on it, its own creativity to it. Beautiful star. So this could be something that really speaks to you more than other decks, possibly, if you love this aesthetic or fantasy. One of the tougher cards in the deck. This is a bit different. It does have 3 swords through the heart, which is typical for 3 of swords, but we see a person in that picture. Normally it's just the heart, and we do see 3 birds, the air element, swords, 3 birds, also kind of representing 3 of swords in that way as well. Here's that romantic feel. Now, I do want one of the tougher cards right there. So it's not shying away, even though this is sweet and emotional, it's not shying away from giving you tough cards, which that can come in the tarot, that sometimes you have tough things in life. So of course, that needs to be reflected in your tarot. Yeah, I think this artwork is so beautiful. Okay, let me show you something else unique about this deck. So this deck comes with an extra card, the Unknown card. The Unknown card represents an answer not yet ready to be revealed, potentially related to the past, present, or future. It's meant to highlight areas where further clarification or introspection is needed. So you can make a choice to take this card out of your deck when you're reading. If you want to just learn with the basics, that's easily done. Just take it out. Or if you feel like it's fun to leave in, then go ahead and leave it in. I do love the imagery on this card. I think that's great. So on to the next deck. And now we have Gilded Tarot Royale. This deck is published by Llewellyn, and it comes in a hard box. It is a glossy box with a magnetic flip open box. Here is the back. You can see that it comes with a 224-page guidebook, which is fantastic and part of why I have chosen this deck. Now I'll show you when you open it up. It has this on the inside flap, so a nice design here. Your guidebook is sitting on top. You have a ribbon to help you lift it out, although not completely, more for the cards, I guess, in that case. It has this cardboard insert, which is not my favorite, but it's fine and it does function. You have this when you take out the card, so that's lovely. Now let's show you the guidebook. This is written by Barbara Moore, who's very knowledgeable on the subject of tarot, so a great person for Llewellyn to have tapped to write this guidebook. Here's the back in case you're interested. So this is considered a kit where it really kind of gives you, ideally everything you need to get going. So we have an introduction, we have artist's notes, and then we have the basics. It's going to tell you about the basics, the minor arcana, the suits, some numerology, court cards, exercises, the major arcana, brief overview on the major arcana, and some exercises, care and storage, divination, asking the question, exercises, what is a tarot spread, significators. It's going to talk about physical appearance. That's up to you if you want to take that into account or not. And then the astrological signs and their associations for some when you're using significators. Reversals, performing a reading, finishing touches. Then it's going to get into the cards. So we have a brief write-up on Major Arcana here. Then for the Major Arcana, we have a full page picture. Now, these pictures are not in color and this paper is not gloss, just FYI, but it's nice to have this photo here and the meanings here, because say you want to study this and just bring the book out with you, you could just bring this book out with you because you have the image here and the write-up. So we have a full page write-up. Now for the minors, we have a large picture still, less than a full page write-up, but certainly enough of a write-up here. So that's very nice. Now at the back, we have spreads. So you're going to get some spreads with this guidebook as well. 3-card spread, some other spreads, classic Celtic cross, as well as others. And then a note, let's see, to write the author or artist. So that's a look at the guidebook. Now I will show you the cards. So here's the backs of the cards. These are reversible. These are glossy. So as you can see here with the lights, glossy cards. So they do slip a little bit more. These are a little on the thin side for me, but they're not terribly thin. So keep that in mind. Some are thicker. It does make it easy to shuffle when they're thin, but you don't want them overly thin because then they're just not going to hold up. But those are okay. So despite the name of this deck, there is no gilding. That can be confusing because it's called Gilded Tarot Royale. There's no gilding on the side, so just to note that. And there's no actual gold, it's just the color gold on these. So let's show you some of these cards. And as you can see here, we have really bright, rich colors, royal colors. And I think that's why they've named it that. And around the titles, it has a little bit of what you would think was gilding, but I mean, there's no actual gold on there. It's the color of gold. And it does stick with tradition, but it has slight changes. But you still get the classic symbolism. So certainly a great deck to still learn with when you don't want to necessarily be 100% with the original style of deck, at least of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So maybe if you want a more colorful deck like this might work. And in some ways, this has been modernized a bit. Yet it's still old, an older time, kind of Renaissance-y looking to me deck. But it certainly tells a story. The question is, does it still tell a story to you? Is this something you'd want to work with and reach for? Does it speak to your intuition? It's nice to have all these bright colors. So that is a look at Gilded Tarot Royale. One more. Okay. Next up, we have Modern Witch Tarot Deck. This comes in a hard box, and the box looks like this. Okay, and it's a lift off type of box, so it's a bit unique with that. And here's the inside of that. You can see the cards and the guidebook inside. And there's also this little detail when you look at the lift off, which is nice. Nice detail. So let's show you here. There is a little guidebook, quite small, but pretty neat. There's a hard cover on this guidebook. And here's the inside. You can see some nice illustrations. We have a foreword, an introduction, and it gives you the meanings of the major arcana. As you can see here, no upright or reversed keywords, just a short write-up, short and sweet. And then at the back, for the minor arcana, The write-ups are much smaller for the minor arcana, as you can see here, and it doesn't have an image for each of those cards. So that might work for you, or you might want to pick up a separate book in that case. Now, at the back of this book, it talks about reading the tarot. So it gives you steps of reading the tarot, spreads. So we've got a few spreads in here. And I think that's, oh, and then there's one extra card that comes with this deck, which is actually on the cover of this book. So typically this would be the 10 of Swords, but on the extra card, it reads, "Everything is fine," below this imagery, which is just so classic. And here you can see the modernness of it that she's holding. It looks like an iPhone to me, so pretty hilarious. Now, here are the backs of the cards. They do have a glossy finish. Most of the decks so far have not had a glossy finish, so keep that in mind. But it is a nice cardstock. It's not like overly thin, so it's a bit thick, not too thick though, so that's nice. And let's show you some of these cards. Oh, no gilding or edging on it. So, as you'll see, this has modern imagery and updated or different colors than the traditional tarot. So, with the Ace of Cups, beautiful High Priestess. She has a laptop. A Death card here. Very traditional symbolism. This is all based on traditional symbolism. Three of Cups, you can see the fashion is updated and the people that we're seeing are updated. So really great. Might be far more relatable to your life and world than other decks. Queen of Wands. Super cool. And I love this color palette. Really enjoy this color palette. We do have some borders around this deck, but it kind of helps it mimic the original traditional deck. But yeah, very based on the original Rider-Waite-Smith system, but modernized. Okay, one more. So that might be for you. You may like that deck. And that's a look at the Modern Witch Tarot. I almost forgot to mention there is a journal that you can pick up separately that goes with this deck if you want, or you can use it with any deck. I use it with any deck, and it's really nice. It has this ribbon here to keep your place. It has this soft finish to it. I don't know what this outside is. It's almost like a vegan leather would be my guess. And I won't show you too much of it because I do use it, so I have things in here, but here's a little bit of a look at the front. So you can see that it has introduction, a section for card meanings, tarot readings, tarot spreads, tarot decks, books, online resources, your tarot circle. So, and it has these beautiful pictures on the inside before it gets into spreads and things like that. So, for example, here you can put in your own meanings. I really use more of the spreads section myself, so that's kind of why you see this stuff tabbed up. So yeah, so it's a great journal as well. Next up, we have the Old Style Tarot, and this is a beautiful deck. I actually have a full flip through video of this deck if you're interested in seeing it. I will link it in the description and possibly link it at the end of this video as well for you to see. But as you can see, this definitely appeals to somebody who wants more of an antique or older style deck, and it's quite lovely. So it comes in a 2-piece hard box with a soft matte cover. And as you can tell, it's a lift off type of box. Here's the back. And inside flap is green. Open it up to see your guidebook, which is a soft matte finish as well, with a ribbon to help you lift your cards and guidebook out. Here are the backs of the cards. They are almost reversible, but if you were really looking, you could tell the difference with that eye and some other small details. So if I lift this out, nothing special on the underside, just nice and simple. So let me show you the guidebook here. It is not small, it's not like a little white book, but it's certainly not one of those larger kit guidebooks, but it's enough to get going. So let's show you here. Nice illustrations on the inside. Note from the artist here. Introduction using the tarot. How to read the cards. Structure of the tarot. How to ask a question the right way and the wrong way, and that's very important because you can certainly get more out of a reading if you phrase your question better. And you can make your questions more empowering if you phrase them in a certain way. So then we have a spread here. And now it gets into the card meanings. So this is for the major arcana. We have upright card meaning. We have the card's advice, and that's quite unique. Then we have a reversed meaning, and then it has the warning. That is very unique as well. Now let me show you the minor arcana. So for the, well, these are court cards in this particular section. So here we have the upright meaning, the card's advice again, the reversed meaning, the warning, and this is unique. We have a quick answer. So very neat with that quick answer there. I like that. And then at the back, we have notes. A little bit of pages, not many, two, for your notes, and it talks about the author as well. Now, this does come with a unique card. It comes with a blank card. It has the meaning of that in the guidebook. So I like this cardstock. I think it's nice. I want to point out the size. The size is a little bit wider than a standard size tarot deck, as you can see here. But I will say that it's not longer, and longer is where I run into problems because, you know, I don't have huge hands. But when it's this length, I can still shuffle it. I mean, even if a deck is too long, you can shuffle it. This is what I do if a deck is really big. You can shuffle it on its side like that. So you can get around it, but just riffle shuffling, if it's too long, is not as great. But this has more on the width, which just makes the images larger and easier for you to see, so that's nice. Now, as you probably noticed, we don't have any gilding or edging on it. So just simple, but these are quite beautiful cards. And I will show you this artwork here. So here we go, 10 of Cups. So this does stay pretty true to the Rider-Waite-Smith system. It's certainly definitely based on it, but we have some changes. This is probably one of the larger examples of a difference of the traditional Rider-Waite imagery in this image, but to me it still stays true to what the meaning of the card is. So that's probably one of the most unique and most varied from the original. So keep that in mind, a slight variation there. But for a lot of it, it's very traditional and does stick with the imagery that you'd be looking for and meanings that you'd be looking for. And I just think this artwork is quite beautiful. This may be something that is more your style, something that speaks to you more, something that you have more fun reading with. And certainly that's important too in a deck, something you want to reach for, something you want to look at and communicate with, and something that tells you a story so that when you look at it, you understand the story, what it's saying, what it's expressing. And that's why it's nice to have a variety really to pick from and what I'm trying to give you here. So, you know, I've shown some modern styles, and here some people will vibe more with this. Like, I certainly love this style. I love modern, I love old fashioned, but oops, we got one reversed in there. So I just want to provide you with different options that are still based in the Rider-Waite-Smith system and what I consider to be easier to read imagery. And there's lots of symbolism for you to work with in these cards, so that is great. Such a beautiful deck. Okay, one more. There we go. Okay, so that is a look at the old style tarot, and as mentioned before, I do have a full flip through video dedicated to just this deck. Now I want to take a moment to share with you a little bit about my journey with my first tarot deck. So here is my first tarot deck. This is the Enchanted Tarot. Now the reason I want to share this with you is this is not what I would typically recommend as a first time deck. It is based on the Rider-Waite-Smith system, but it certainly gets pretty far away as far as the most traditional imagery. The imagery is very ornate, and it's a very specific style of aesthetic, but I love it. And this is the deck that spoke to me. I felt a personal connection with this deck. I was doing a lot of sewing and embroidery and crafting and that kind of thing, so this really was the right deck for me to start with. And I'm sharing that with you because if there's a deck that really speaks to you, and maybe it's not on this list or it gets away from tradition a little bit, you could still go for it. I wouldn't want to stray too far from tradition for your first deck, but in the end, your connection to the deck and what talks to you is the most important part. What tells you a story? That's very important. Something about this deck too that wouldn't have been a beginner recommendation is these are pretty large. Like, look, my hand can barely stretch over it, but at the same time, it makes it so the images are large. And this is thick cardstock. This is not the kind that's that easy to shuffle, but at the same time, it's also held up quite well. I have had this deck for 25, almost 30 years. Not to tell you my age, but I've had this deck for a while, and it looks pretty darn beautiful still. So I'm just telling you that to help encourage you to really pick the deck that works for you the most. Now, if you like that deck that I was showing you, there actually is now, which of course I had to pick up, an anniversary edition. I think now they are on to the 30th anniversary edition, actually. I picked this up a while ago, so I have the 25th, and I wanted to pick up the most updated version. So I will link this in the video in case you're into this deck as well, because it's quite beautiful. And although, like I said, I wouldn't say it's the most beginner-friendly deck ever, it is pretty cool. And it does come with this nice booklet as well. I'm assuming the 30th edition does too. But yet still, we still have large cards. We still have very large cards. But you know, there's a lot of ornate imagery on here. So in that way, you can see it quite large. I'm not sure what changes they've made to the 30th edition, maybe the borders. They did make the cardstock much less thick, so it's a little easier to work with in that respect. So that's nice. Oh, and here's my original book. As you can see, sun faded with time, but so nice. It had a ribbon and it was a hard book. I wish I had kept it a little further from a sunny spot on my shelf. But hey, it is what it is. So thank you for letting me take a moment to share that story with you. I just want to encourage you to really go with what makes your heart sing. Go with what speaks to you. So those are my top 10 easiest tarot decks for beginners. I hope one of them feels like the perfect match for you. And I'd love to know, what was your first tarot deck? Or if you're shopping for your first, are there any on this list or elsewhere that are calling your name? If you're just getting started, I also have a video on my top 10 tarot books for beginners linked in the description and on the screen. If you found this video helpful, I'd be so grateful if you give it a like and considered subscribing. It really helps this channel and it makes it easier for others to discover this content. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy tarot reading.